I've got about 20 minutes to talk about the Milan Reserve Roastery. And I thought what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit of the story behind the roastery. It's a long story. It started some many years ago. But then also just share some of the concepts, some of the trends, some of the consumer behaviors that we think the roastery taps into, as well as some of the unique elements and differentiators that we hope you will experience if and when you come and visit us. The story of the roastery really began here. In 1971, in Starbucks' very first store in Pike Place Farmers Market in downtown Seattle. The store today looks very much like it did some 47 years ago, and it's surrounded by a bustling farmers market. Fresh produce, florists, bakers, and fishmongers throwing fish to the amusement of customers who are photographing it and videoing it, creating a retail experience that any modern-day retailer would be unbelievably envious of, as it is photographed for Instagram and videoed for Facebook live streams around the world. At this time, Starbucks didn't sell drinks. It merely sold freshly roasted coffee, hand-scooped to order, along with dried teas and spices. But in 1982, a young man named Howard Schultz joined Starbucks. We had just 6 stores at that time. He joined as the sales and marketing director, and the story of Starbucks would change forever. Just a year after he joined, in 1983, Howard made a trip to Milan in Italy. The Italians, always at the forefront of coffee brewing technology, he was visiting a trade fair looking for home brewing equipment so that we could sell those in our merchandise range in our stores. But what he found as he toured the streets of Milan were the thousands of individual family-run coffee shops and espresso bars, serving espresso, cappuccino, and cafe latte to their local communities and creating, more importantly, a vibrant community hub. What Howard saw that day in Milan inspired him to go back to Seattle and change Starbucks forever, transforming us from a store that sold dry beans, teas, and spices to one that sold drinks, lattes, cappuccino, espresso, but also a place that served its community as a gathering point, a place where people could come together over a simple cup of coffee or just find a soft, comfy chair and sit for a moment of reflection. In the 35 years since, Starbucks has grown. We have nearly 29,000 retail stores in 77 countries around the world, and over 350,000 baristas and staff wear the green apron in those stores. We call them partners because anyone working for Starbucks more than 20 hours a week gets share options so they can share in the company's success. In every new country we went to, we were greeted as people appreciated that common human need to get together over that simple cup of coffee. And it wasn't just those espresso, simple, classic coffees that Howard had found in Italy, not just the cappuccino and the latte, but we lent into innovation as well. In 1995, we launched Frappuccino. That's now a $3 billion global brand in its own right. Pumpkin spice latte has spawned countless food and beverage products, and those famous red cups with the flavors of the season have for over 20 years heralded the start of Christmas. More recently, we've brought cold brew and nitro draft to markets as younger customers have increasingly wanted to drink their coffee cold, not just in the hot summer afternoons, but also in the winter and throughout the day. In fact, very soon, Starbucks will sell more cold coffee beverages in the US than we do hot. But despite the fact that we've been welcomed in 77 countries, despite the fact we had nearly 29,000 stores around the world, there was one country that we still did not have a single store in. We didn't have a single store in Italy, the country that had inspired the Starbucks that we know today. And that was simply because we didn't feel like we yet had the right concept to enter that market. We knew that when we went there, we had to have something special, something that we could showcase the 40 years of innovation, something that respected the Italian culture and the very personal and unique relationship they have with coffee and especially espresso. But in 2014, we opened this store, just a few short blocks from that very first store in downtown Seattle. This was our first roastery, our first reserve roastery. It's 18,000 square foot of coffee retail experience and has been described as the Willy Wonka of coffee shops. It's a must-see for any tourist visiting Seattle, but is also the daily coffee stop for many local customers. And whether we knew it or not back in 2015, what we were tapping into, what we'd maybe even foreseen, was, I think, 3 consumer trend or behavioral changes. High street footfall is on the decline. You can't fail to notice here in the UK the number of high street stores that are falling by the wayside. Driven by a move for online shopping, I myself have received this morning just 3 delivery notifications as a result of my shopping spree whilst I was waiting for Sunday lunch to cook last weekend. But at the same time, we're seeing this huge increase on spend in experiences, whether it be the street food markets or other experiences. Euromonitor report recently said that consumers are now valuing their self-worth and status not by the products and goods that they are being able to purchase. It's not the Porsche or the Rolex watch, but it is the experience that they're able to share. Barclaycard UK reported in 2017 a 10.2% increase in experience spend, whilst spend on goods and products has stayed static. And a survey for Expedia tells us that amongst millennials and Gen Zs, nearly 50% of them would sell the clothes off their own back in order to fund foreign travel. In summary, if it doesn't make a good Instagram post or Facebook live feed, it's not worth taking the time to visit. They knew it back in Pike Place in the early 70s, and it's just as true today. And we found that the roastery concept meets these consumer expectations, and its foundations are in our reserve small batch coffees, the third of those trends. Small lot coffees reflecting the love of the farmer and often coming with a story of environmental or social impact. They're one of a kind that our buyers seek out for their unique flavor characteristics. And in the roastery, you can see them going from green bean through to brewing in your cup in an experiential, visible, transparent process from roaster through to craft. So we had a concept. It was hitting consumer trends. It was incredibly popular in Seattle and successful. And we felt it was time to open our first store in Italy. So we set about finding a site that was would be reflective of the concept that we had to offer. It was no easy task. Our real estate team traipsed the streets of Milan, pulling our executives from vacant site to vacant site. Too small, too large, ceilings too low, and in the wrong location, time after time. But finally we found this beautiful building standing empty. It's the old post office in Milan's Piazza Cordusio. Originally built as the Milan Stock Exchange, it was finished in 1901, and it was now standing empty, waiting for something or someone to give it a new lease of life. And so that's what we set about trying to do. Liz Muller, our SVP of Design, assembled a team of some of the world's best designers. They moved to Milan so they could live amongst the city and the culture for which they were designing the store. And they brought around them some of Italy's best craftsmen, some of the finest materials, and they have created what has been called, and I happen to agree, unsurprisingly, the most beautiful Starbucks in the world. We can't all go there today, but let me try and take you through a visual tour, if I may. First, let me try and orient you. Coming in to the entrance of the store at the bottom of the screen here, you'll pass through our terrace. Covered seating surrounded by planting recreates the traditional terrace experience of the Milanese coffee bar. Up the steps and into the portico, you go through 3 vast high doors, and stepping inside, it's difficult not to stop and pause, wondering where to go next, which is deliberate. We want people to not go on a standard journey around the store, but to explore the different areas. We'll go into these areas in a little more detail, but to the left is our Princi bakery counter. To our right, our main coffee bar with innovation and traditional coffee experiences. And right in front of you, our roaster, taking center stage. And just at the back, all the way at the back, at the right-hand side, is our Arriviamo bar, a cocktail bar reflective of the culture of Milan. Let's take a closer look. Our main bar. The coffee silos are filled with those copper pipes that circle above as the beans shoot through from the roaster. Visible through perspex windows in the pipe, there's also LED technology that tells the customers in the store exactly which coffee it is they see tumbling into those glass silos on the left. The other side, the front of this bar, is an homage to the Italian traditional espresso craft. Perfectly drawn espresso shots are topped with beautifully steamed milk as the sound and craft of the baristas as they work our 3 Nuova Simonelli Black Eagle machines, which have been bespokely finished for the roastery. It really is a performance just like an Italian opera. On this side of the bar, life slows a little as you can experience those small batch coffees brewed in a number of different ways. Our Clover machine is unique to Starbucks, but also pour over and also Chemex on this side. Try a flight, where we can offer you either the same coffee brewed in multiple different ways, or brewing the same way, a couple of different coffees. Try the Hawaii Kau, a creamy milk chocolate with an almond sweetness, versus our Ethiopia Bitter Farm, which has perfumed jasmine aromas and ginger spice and orange peel notes. Move around to the right to the end of the bar, and 9 siphons stand in a line like a beacon with light, heat, and bubbling water drawing you towards a 7-minute science experiment as you can brew any one of those coffees. And whilst you do so, our baristas, who are all fluent in at least English and Italian, can tell you the story behind the coffee, or even the story behind the brewer. It's not new technology. In fact, this method of brewing was invented in the 1830s, but it holds the water at a very consistent 94 degrees and brings out the most incredible aromas in your coffee. Shift a little further round to the right, and you move from fire to ice. The theatre continues with our Nitro Gelato Affogato, another homage to Italian cuisine. We were going to find it difficult to open a store without gelato in Milan. But it took a while to find someone with whom we felt comfortable partnering. But finally, from our R&D team, Rachel Chatterton, having eaten her way through the gelato of northern Italy, was touring the streets of Turin and came across a true friend and artisan in Alberto Moretti, a second-generation gelatician. I'm told that is a word. He is an advocate of the slow food movement and makes the most incredibly textured and tasting gelato from only local ingredients in small batches. Indeed, the cows graze in the fields right outside his gelato facility. The theatre continues in our Princi bar, where the bakers bake daily in our wood-fired oven pizza and focaccia. And partnering with our friend Rocco Princi, we have a fresh selection of savoury and sweet pastries, hot lunch offerings like lasagna and parmigiana, as well as your choice of pizza or freshly prepared focaccia sandwiches. But as evening draws in, the shutters lift and reveal a traditional Italian aperitivo bar for customers to enjoy either inside or outside on the terrace, a Aperol Spritz, a cold beer, or a glass of Italian wine, along with small bites from the Princi ovens. And that center stage, the roaster, in this striking green color, at least twice an hour, the roaster spills its beans into the cooling tray, where they're turned until they're cool enough to be sucked up those tubes by air and shot off to the silos, where they sit for 7 days degassing until they're ready to be brewed. Or straight to the pack line, where they're put into flavor-locked packaging and shipped to one of the 80 or so stores around the EMEA region, where we also serve those small batch reserve coffees. And surrounding that roaster is our retail area, a carefully curated selection of merchandise and lifestyle objects where you can pick up a memento of your visit. For just a few euros, the obvious mug or keyring, but we also have over half a dozen partnerships with local Milan designers. So you can pick up a pencil by Perpetua made with recycled industrial graphite waste. Or if you'd like to invest the $4,500 you'll need, you can pick up a Matteo Cibic inspiration of our siren in white ceramic with 24-karat gold, a limited edition for your shelf. Upstairs in the Riviamo bar, our bartenders will craft you an alcoholic or a spirit-free mixology cocktail right in front of you. And once you've experienced everything that the Four Walls have to offer, take your phone and point it at our copper wall, and you can explore not only the stories of Starbucks and Princi, but delve into the world of coffee, learning how geography, soil conditions, altitude, and processing methods alter the taste of your coffee beans. But also point your phone to the ceiling or the floor, and you can dive into videos of the artisans manufacturing the very environment in which you sit. So to the menu. Designed to cover every day part from 7 o'clock in the morning through to 10 o'clock at night, it's either a shot of traditional Italian espresso and a pastry for your morning breakfast, or it's a bit of pizza for lunch with some of our coffee innovation. Or meet friends over an Aperol Spritz, or come late in the evening for a cocktail. But they're all created with this most incredible attention to detail. Every ingredient, many of them made in store, every garnish, every cup, every glass has been carefully thought over. I can't bring them all here, but let me just quickly run through one or two of my personal favorites. Of course, the classic Starbucks Reserve Cafe Latte, here served on a tray with the cold brew lemon sour that I hope you've been able to enjoy today. Alberto's Nitrogen Gelato Affogato, cold-infused gelato mix, is churned and frozen in front of your eyes with nitrogen, liquid nitrogen, and then drenched in a matching Pantheon fresh espresso shot. This one, I have to say, is almost impossible not to come back for more of. Or sit at the main bar and sip the alcohol-free whiskey barrel-aged Sulawesi cold brew. Sulawesi beans are aged for a top-secret amount of time, along with a few additional top-secret ingredients in whiskey barrels that we've sourced from the craft distillery Knob Creek, which is based in Washington, our home state in the USA, and then cold brewed to make sure that those smooth flavors remain, and served over a large sphered ice cube. And finally, the orange coffee tonic, a spirit-free cocktail, chai tea with freshly made orange and lemon cordial, with a floated layer of Pantheon cold brew and garnished with a slice of orange studded with a pansy flower. And my personal favorite, on your right, the Ilbrera, named after the neighborhood that surrounds the site of the roastery and is the home of the artisans of Milan. Pantheon cold brew, shaken with Demerara syrup, ice and cherry bitters, and finished with that maraschino cherry. So that is the story of the Starbucks roastery in Milan, in my words. But to finish, I'd like to share with you a short video which shows the creation of the site in the words and the voices of many of the people that were instrumental in bringing it to life.
Yes? Yes, okay. He's nearly here. Okay, all in position. All in position, guys. Get ready.
I was 30 years old when I came to Italy for the first time. I remember just walking the streets and I was just amazed at how much coffee there was.
The journey began for Howard when he first visited the city. He went to the first espresso bar in Italy and fell in love with the concept.
So this is more than a dream come true. This is full circle since 1983.
To do this extraordinary project, you need extraordinary people. You need to believe that anything we dream up is possible.
I believe that the artisans we found understood this project to be an opportunity to show what they can do.
Let's go!
Tutte le esperienze che ho fatto nella mia vita su questo lavoro le sto usando.
Il pezzo deve essere perfetto, se no lo devi buttare via.
I never imagined we'd have thousands of stores all over the world and one day the opportunity to come back to Milan.
Every project is a dream project, but let me be very clear. This is the ultimate.
Can't wait. It's really a dream come true for all of us.
It's true.
Especially for me.
Thank you.